gas.
Ja.
Ze weten,
Ja, zu machen.
Oh ja,
adivinar.
read the future.
To read the future.
Future.
Yeah. But they read in the future is that you'll be a few zlotys lighter.
Less.
It's like a documentary.
Ah, we need to make
Mega. You could say both. Yeah.
You can say film.
Film, even though it's not film. It's videotape.
So I'll start where I was, my home before the war.
Okay. Sin preguntarle, que él empiece a contar. Yo trato de. Okay. I won't ask question. You are going to begin alone. And if I have question too, okay.
But stop for the
Stop for
translation.
translation. Let me translate.
Okay, I'll start as a small child.
No.
Beginning?
Yeah. As a small child, as far as I can remember.
Excuse me, you wanted to give his birth date?
No.
His birth date and where he was born?
You can say. Well, I am Joe.
Okay. My name is Joe Riesenbach. I was born in 1929, Poland, Markowa, village of Markowa.
Mi nombre es Joe Riesenbach. Nací en. When
1929, May the 8th, 1929.
1929 en una aldea que se llama Markowa.
And it's a village, very heavy populated, about 3,000 inhabitants, which is people.
Una villa que tenía 3.000 habitantes.
Not very wealthy.
No muy rica.
Our home was about the nicest home in the village.
Nuestra casa era una de las más lindas de la villa y de las más grandes.
My parents were involved in several businesses, and grandmother. My father had several businesses. In the winter, he was a cattle buyer, buying cattle and selling, trading. In the summer, in the spring, he bought orchards in the bloom. Fruit trees,
Yeah.
He bought those full orchards. Then in the fall, when the fruit was developed, he hired men to pick it.
Mi papá tenía distintos trabajos. En el invierno se dedicaba a comerciar ganado y en el verano compraba frutas o árboles frutales que una vez que estaban en condiciones de ser recolectados, recolectaba y vendía la fruta.
And this was all for export to Germany, Czechoslovakia. He was exporting. On top of that, also he was exporting eggs.
Se dedicaba a exportar esa fruta, inclusive exportaba a Checoslovaquia, Alemania huevos.
And my mother, we had in the house a small store.
Tenían en la casa un pequeño negocio de productos alimenticios.
And my mother was also selling materials, fabrics.
Y también la mamá se dedicaba a la venta de telas.
And my grandmother, of course, was retired, so she looked after the house. And I looked after the house as well, because my parents were always away.
La abuela de ella, que era pensionada, se dedicaba un poco a cuidar la casa y él, que era el mayor, también.
And as a little boy, 7, 8 years old, I was looking after the cows, the chickens, feeding him, cleaning him, and feeding the animals.
Cuando tenía 7 años ya se ocupaba de alimentar los animales de la granja, las vacas.
And my sisters, I was looking after their small, so they didn't do much. They were going to school, they all going to school. And we went to school, so we had to walk 3-4 kilometers. Winter, summer,
íbamos a la
walking.
escuela, para ello teníamos que caminar 3 o 4 kilómetros.
Now, I'll go back a little bit. I remember my grandfather, just before he died, I was must have been 4 years old, 5 years old.
Quiero ir un poquito más hacia atrás. Me acuerdo de mi abuelo justo antes que muriera, cuando yo tenía unos 3, 4 años.
He was a very religious person. And I remember the holidays. So we also had a room put away as a shul. So Saturdays and holidays we came to pray. The village, the Jewish people came to pray.
Teníamos en nuestra casa también una sala que usábamos de Beit Knesset, de sinagoga, donde venían todos los judíos del pueblo en las fiestas, en el Shabbat, a casa a rezar.
And also, before Pesach, we were baking matzahs. The whole village came to bake matzahs because we had the facilities, a big oven.
Tenían un horno grande y en Pesach ellos horneaban la matzá para todo el pueblo ahí.
And Friday night, I remember they were bringing the wives, the women were bringing big pots. It's called chum. You heard of that?
What?
Chum. It's a dish. It's like a stew mixed with meat and vegetables, potatoes.
Un guiso.
And you put this in the oven
All
Friday,
the night.
all night. You take it out Friday after prayers to Saturday. That reminds me of a joke. When they say you put it on a Friday, you take it out on Saturday.
That's nice.
Okay.
Normally say it's
Chum.
Oh, it's delicious. And okay. Then we had no radios, TVs those days, no cars. And we had 3 pieces of land. 1 piece of land right beside the house, which we'll see if it's not. I heard there's a bank is going to be built on it. And then 2 pieces of land further down. When the war broke out, September 1939, I was not, as soon as the Germans came in, I was not allowed to go to school.
Cuando explota la guerra en septiembre del 39 y los alemanes entran a la villa, a partir de ahí ya no se les permitía ir a la escuela.
I only had 4 grades.
Estaba en 4º grado.
And life was going on. You know, the Germans came in, you know, and there was a main road, you'll see it. So the Germans were marching, you know, right through the village further down. And there was no problem. All you could see the planes, the German planes flying low. There was no bombs flying. And we were afraid, so we were hiding in the fields, you know. Like this piece of land we had about 2 hectares. So it was corn growing that high, so we were hiding there while the planes were flying over. Within the 6 months, I would say, while the Germans went through already, there's a group of German soldiers who came in direct to our home. There's about 4 or 6 soldiers, German. No title, you know, no particular rank.
6 meses más o menos después de que ya estaban los alemanes en Polonia, un grupo de 4 o 5 soldados alemanes vinieron a nuestra casa.
And they came to occupy, to stay there, without notice or anything.
Sin avisar nada, vinieron a tomar esa casa, a quedarse ahí.
So they took over 2-3 rooms and they cooked for themselves and they were fine. They stayed about 4 or 5 weeks as far as I can remember.
Ellos tomaron 2 o 3 piezas de la casa, ellos se cocinaban para ellos mismos y tuvieron unos 5 o 4 semanas.
There's no problem. They were nice.
No hubo ningún problema con ellos.
1941, when the Russia and Germany had an attack on the border, not to attack each other. It was Ukraine, you see.
Yeah.
The Germans stopped at the Ukrainian border and the Russians stopped at the Ukrainian. They say, no war.
Hasta el 41 no había más guerra en esa zona porque tanto los alemanes como los rusos habían parado en la frontera que habían acordado.
But Hitler broke the promise, the treaty, and he attacked Russia.
En junio del 41 Hitler rompe el pacto y ataca a Rusia.
So the soldiers, I guess they got notice they had to move on towards the front. So they were packed up and they said goodbye with tears in their eyes because they knew what's expected. They had to go to the front. See, so they didn't like it, but they said goodbye with tears.
They were soldiers of the Wehrmacht.
I don't know what.
No,
it was. No. The second, I'll tell you. The second group, shortly after, between the times, I don't remember, but it wasn't too long, came the Gestapo. The Gestapo is like a police.
Yeah,
they're really. And they came in again without notice. They came in, and they were already rough. We had to clean their equipment, the guns, the belts, the boots, and the pots.
This was
dishes.
after Hitler attacked Russia.
Yeah.
I mean, after 1941.
41, yes. And they didn't harm us, and they stayed on also about 4 weeks or so. The third group was the SS.
El tercer grupo que llega a esa casa son los SS.
Shortly after came also.
Muy poco tiempo después de que las Gestapo se van.
We had to do the same type of work, and they were kicking my father, kicking my sisters, because they were so particular. If their boots weren't lined up properly, right away, swearing and kicking him and beating him.
They were 10 years old and
I was 11 years old.
They were 10 years, your sisters.
Oh, younger.
10,
but 2 years younger, 9, 10, yeah.
They came into your house and into other houses too?
I don't know that. I don't think so. Because they were in other
Because it
houses.
was the biggest
Well, I'll tell you a little later why. I think why. Okay, and then we had to, it was in the winter, getting winter, and the highways were blocked. You would go through there. Snow that high, and they had no equipment. The Polish weren't prepared. So they took a lot of people, us, myself and my father, and others from the village, with shovels, and walked kilometers, 7, 8 kilometers to shovel the highways.
Era una época en que era invierno, no estaban bien preparados para el bloqueo que había de rutas por la nieve y tomaban. You were 12 years old.
We had to go with the shovel, yes.
Chicos de 12 años y todos los de la villa. Only the Jews or with the
I'm
Polish?
not too sure. There was a lot of people. I think it was Polish too. Yeah.
No solo judíos, sino algunos polacos. Les daban una pala y tenían que ir a limpiar las rutas de la nieve.
No food, no nothing,
Sin comida, sin
Just
all
walk,
day.
All day, just walking. I don't know for how long till we cleaned the highway because it was a long stretch. And after that, they left.
How long
they were about 6 weeks, 8 weeks.
Después de eso, los SS, después de 6 semanas aproximadamente, se fueron.
1942, I remember, that was early in the spring. We heard about the war, what was happening as far as the camps or the killings. We didn't hear too much. I don't know whether my parents knew or they didn't want to tell us as children,
You are speaking about September,
May,
May 1940.
April, May.
April.
Yeah. See, as on Saturdays after, the shul, after a meal, we used to go for a walk and meet the other Jewish families. And I overheard saying one family, everything will be okay. They'll bypass us. They're not going to touch us. Shortly after, it was late spring, early summer, and 2 Polish policemen came into our home. It was about noon hour. It was a nice day, sunny day, and said to my father, they called him Jacob, or something like Jake, whatever. Please leave immediately because we have orders from the Germans to round all the Jewish people up in the village.
Para finales de la primavera del 42, 2 policías. These policemen were friends of your father?
Explain here.
Okay, finish up. I'll explain.
2 policías.
Okay, the question is why especially the Polish police came to warn us, to help us. Because my father with the police were very close. Because we was in business, the policemen, they were mooching, like the Jake, I need 10 zlotys, I need some fruit, little things to help out, So my father never asked for the money back, so they were very friendly, and so they figured they owed us this favor to warn us. So we had to leave immediately, couldn't take nothing with us. All we took is the Sefer Torah, and that's all I remember. And we went to the fields, and I'll show you when we come there. There was a street going up, the hill, which was a few, let's say 6, 8 houses up, and and then it was all field, farmers' field. And in the fields it was already early summer, so there was the potato, growing that high and the corn that high. And during the day, you can't stand, you have to hide. So we were lying in, when the potato fields have a little rows and a little ditch. So we were all lying in these ditches. Nobody could see us during the day. At night, we had to look for food. So my mother went to, at night, to certain people which she knew she was dealing with, possibly would be safe, to ask for food and also to help us out to hide. But most of them locked the door, wouldn't let us in. And this was going on, I would say, 4, 5, 6 weeks.
Esto fue por 5 o 6 semanas.
And we couldn't eat what we eat. So we were digging carrots in the ground, potatoes, beets, we eat raw. We couldn't make a fire, because you see the smoke.
No se podía hacer fuego porque podía delatar la presencia de humo.
Till finally, after walking around, so many nights, till she came along, to find a place for the two sisters home. After, I don't know how long, shortly after, she found this place, Janina, that's with the granddaughter. Yeah, and the name was Joseph and Julia Bar. Julia was the mother,
the mother of Janina.
Mother of the father, yes.
La familia.
And
sorry, he was a resistance man, yeah? He was from the underground.
Yeah, I'll tell you. She was a little woman, 90 pounds, 100 pounds, which is what, 60 kilos, 70 kilos. Very religious, a true Christian.
Julia.
And he was the opposite. He went to church, but he went along with her. He belonged to this underground army, Polish army.
Y él, a pesar de que iba cada tanto a la iglesia, no era tan religioso y pertenecía a la resistencia polaca.
That helped us a little bit, so we got information what was going on in the war.
Eso lo ayudó también porque a través de la resistencia polaca tenían información de qué era lo que realmente estaba ocurriendo durante la guerra.
Because there was no radio, there was no newspapers. He was getting the underground newspapers, so he knew what was going on. We thought the war was going to last a month, 2, 3. That's what we were figuring.
Ellos imaginaban que la guerra podía llegar a durar 1, 2, a lo sumo 3 meses.
And the Russians were going back. In other words, the Germans were going into deep Russia, and the war was going on and going on and going on. There was no end to it. And we began to worry, and the family was worried. During this state at that time, a year or so, a lot of things you could hear that really what was happening. There was another family, Jewish family, hidden by a Polish family, which there were 7 people, Jewish people, and this Christian family had 9 children. And they found them. Somebody, a neighbor, must have said something. They found them, and the Germans came in and they shot them all, buried in front of the house.
You mean the Polish were killed in the front of the house?
Same.
With the Jews?
With the Jews.
And the children?
Everything.
No solo mataron a la puerta donde estaban escondidos a los judíos, sino a la familia polaca que los escondía, con los hijos, but they were children.
Doesn't matter.
Con chicos, con todo, a todos mataron.
Children. There were in the camps. The Germans were throwing children just against the tree, throwing them. You don't know. You haven't heard these things. Oh, very brutal, very brutal. And there were warnings before that, so the Polish people knew that the danger is just as bad as we were in danger. Their lives are just as... The Germans were quite smart. The Germans weren't looking for us in the small villages, because it was hard to find, to know where exactly. So they gave orders to the police or to the people, find a Jew, you'll get 2 kilos of sugar. And also they stole the properties for a living, from the Polish people.
No solo eso, sino que los polacos también robaban las propiedades donde ellos vivían los judíos en la villa.
When we were on this, the house was like a straw roof, an old house, and the floor was mud, and it was 1 kitchen, and 1 bedroom, and another bedroom for the daughter, and a storage room. So there was like 4 rooms, the whole thing, plus a barn for the animals, the horses and the cows and so on. We had 2 dogs. the house itself wasn't insulated. In the kitchen they had an oven that heated. We were on the roof flying straw on hay. You know what hay is? Dry grass.
Ah, yeah.
Ellos together in the winter, and we woke up on my lips, you know, from the breathing, there was white ice, snow.
Did you eat there upstairs?
Eat, okay.
Go on.
So that's the description of the house. And there was a lot of space, you know, between the kitchen doors, you know, it wasn't tight because, you know, it's old house and wood and the earth, you know, so the doors there was that much space. So you could listen in during the night. So I took turns, myself, my father took turns and sort of put the ear, you know, close, and you could hear the conversation, what was going on. Just that we were curious, you know, what they're doing, but we were curious what they're saying about us. What if they want to do something, you know. And so we were listening in, and then at one day we were trying to tell the wife, this Janina, please bear with us. The war will be over soon. It's got to, be an end to it. And so we were pleaded with her. It says, we don't have to feed us. We are talking about food. I'll tell you later. You don't have to feed us too much, you know, and we'll try to survive together. So she said, don't worry, God is with us. Whatever's going to happen to us is going to happen to you, or vice versa. You know.
Que ellos le pedían a ella que por favor no los sacaran de ahí para poder sobrevivir, y ella les dijo que no se preocupen, que Dios está con nosotros, lo que les pase a ustedes nos va a pasar a nosotros.
Qué buena persona.
Okay, well, I forgot to mention that the two sisters came in after, you heard the story. Somebody wants to put it on the camera.
Okay.
That after a while, my mother wasn't feeling very secure, so she went one night and got the two sisters. And
That were in another house.
Yes, the same house, yeah. Food, it was once a day. She a bucket of potato soup, water, maybe about 6 potatoes cut up and, you know, running around in the pot. Swimming in the pot. And with a piece of black, dark meat with a baked every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks. So it was a piece of bread.
A piece of bread.
I guess half a slice of bread for each one.
Comida.
That was
Every day, todos los días tenían una sopa de papa con 6 papas flotando por ahí, y una vez cada 15 días una pequeña porción de pan.
Because they were poor farmers, just enough food for themselves.
They were, o sea,
But the Germans took a lot away, most of it.
Eran granjeros que no tenían la posibilidad de dar mejor comida y hacían lo que podían, y nunca. But you have never been lack of food.
No.
They always, every day,
just
they
enough
gave
to
you
survive. Yeah, same.
todos los días esa porción de comida la recibían.
This Janina,
Janina.
Julia.
the mother, the
Julia.
daughter, the granddaughter, Janina, she was the one brought the food up.
La que estamos yendo a visitar ahora, Janina, que es la que vive, es la que se encargaba de llevarle todos los días
She was
la comida.
18 years old at that time.
Tenía 18 años en ese momento.
She brought the food up, yes,
Febrero del 55.
and take the waste away. You know the waste is because we had to
Sí,
put it in the bucket.
Ella todos los días subía la comida y bajaba con la lata que tenían para los desechos.
And this was going on all the time.
Joe, nobody got ill during this period.
Nobody coughed. Nobody had a cold. It's a miracle. It's a miracle.
During 2 years, suffering from coldness
Nothing.
and
But we were suffering from lice, fleas. You know what fleas are? Because you sleep on straw.
fleas, yeah, pulgas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All
fleas.
were terrible. And light. We only had one shirt, no clothes, just one shirt. So every day, my mother, you know, took off the shirt and, you know, between the seat, that's where the lice were hiding, you know, and just clean it out.
Le pregunté si nadie se enfermó durante esos 2 años en esas condiciones, dice que no, que es un milagro, que nadie se
No
enfermó,
washing, nothing.
no había con qué lavarse, nada, pero lo único que más sufrían eran las pulgas porque dormían en heno, sobre paja.
At times we had to change the hay, the positions, because the hay was so, when you walk on it, you see, it gets crumbled. So we had to get new hay, or because there's too many fleas and you couldn't catch them, So we had to move, because the roof was quite large on two sides. So we had to move different positions.
Tenían que ir cambiando de posiciones sobre la paja porque se aplastaba toda, aparte se llenaba de pulgas y no las podían sacar.
In the meantime, she had a boyfriend. And her daughter, Janina, had a boyfriend. And we couldn't talk loud, just whispering, because there was neighbors, not very close, but in case somebody was suspicious, we'd come to the house and listen in what was going on. So we couldn't talk loud, just whisper, or use your hands. So she had this boyfriend, so we were quite concerned. And she could not bring him into the house. So they were sitting outside on a bench and talking. So we had to take turns and listen what she is saying to him. Because this is something, again, I was curious what they're talking about. We were afraid for our security. So we were listening in, and thank goodness, nothing happened.
Ella tenía Janina en un periodo tuvo un novio y estaban muy preocupados de qué le iba a decir al novio porque cualquiera podía delatarlos, pero en ningún momento los descubrió.
No le dijo.
And of course, he was persisting. He wants to come into her room. So he was asking her, why didn't you want me to let you in the house in the room? So she responded that till such time I get married, the Christian religion does not allow to bring in a stranger into the house till we marry.
Él a todo momento quería entrar a la casa, quería ir al dormitorio con ella. Y ella, para evitar que entrara, le decía, no, nosotros los cristianos no podemos permitir eso hasta que estamos casados.
Very clever,
Era muy inteligente.
And I heard that, so it felt really good, In the meantime, Joseph, the husband, was quite concerned about the safety for ourselves and for him. So in case of an emergency, which is somebody will come in and ask him look or whatever, he had to find a hiding place because going up and it was all open. That's not a hiding. So they had a basement, a cellar, and go on, tell him, explain that.
El dueño de casa, Joseph, estaba muy preocupado por la seguridad de todos. ¿Qué hacer en caso de emergencia? Que vinieran algunos a hacer una requisa. Entonces tenían preparado una especie de bodega que es un sótano.
In that basement, there was it was a trap door to open up.
Había una puerta especial.
And there was a staircase going down.
Con una escalera.
And as you go down, there was a shelf. No shelf. And he had displayed bottles of wine and bottles of whiskey. They call it home brew. They made it themselves. So you had a full display of that. That's an important thing. I'll come back.
Recalca de que es importante que nos acordemos de que en el sótano tenía toda una estantería llena de botellas de whisky que ellos mismos producían.
And on one side there was storage for potatoes for the winter.
Y en otro lado estaban guardados papas.
Which was for themselves. And the other side was beets for the animals, for the cattle. Beets, y en el otro lado guardaban avena para el ganado. Okay, so that's all the space there was. So he thought of to make a bunker, which on the potato side was easier to work. So he dug out all the potatoes, moved over to the other side, and made a space smaller than this here, that high.
Y decidió hacer del lado donde estaban las papas
with boards, plywood.
Un búnker que lo cavó. He caved it into the mud.
No, he took the potatoes out.
Yeah.
He built this bunker with a roof.
How did he? With bricks?
No, boards. Shell. Boards.
Con madera, o sea, con.
Because the basement had
con madera armó como una especie de búnker.
Because he had to put the potatoes back on top.
Okay, está bien.
All you left is a space, a trap door, an emergency, so we had a signal. We just run down and open up that door, and we jump in, and he'll cover up the potatoes like nothing happened.
Era un lugar, bueno, estaba preparado como que en caso de emergencia ellos tenían que bajar y ir a ese lugar, meterse en esa pequeña caja de búnker de madera que había hecho y él volvía a poner las papas arriba.
So this was our safety, security, hiding place. They were going to church every Sunday morning. And one morning, they went to church, and after the prayers, you know, the priest has got a pulpit, you know, and he stands and he talks.
Iban a misa todos los domingos a la mañana. Uno de los domingos después de la misa.
And after the services, he announced, ladies and gentlemen, I want to make an announcement. There's 2 Jewish families unaccounted for.
Quiero hacerle the priest said that?
Yeah.
El cura polaco en la iglesia al final de la misa dice, señoras y señores, quiero comentarles de 2 familias judías. You say 2
unaccounted for, which was missing.
que están perdidas, que no fueron capturadas.
Yeah. So please, we must find them, and each one organize groups. When you come home after Sunday dinner, it's very important in Poland, you know, it's a big special dinner. After dinner, organizing groups and look house by house.
The priest asked for that.
Oh, sure. I have no idea.
El cura polaco pidió a los feligreses que estaban en esa misa, que como había 2 familias judías del pueblo que no habían sido capturadas, que por favor se organizaran después de la cena del domingo y fueran todos los polacos de la villa a requisar casa por casa para tratar de encontrarlos.
During that time, while we were there, I didn't hear any of his neighbors coming to him, to this house. Nobody was coming to this house. And so he had 2 big dogs, you know, every farm has, on a big chain running around, up to the door, you know. And so while he heard this in church, and actually, you can imagine what his thought was. He couldn't show the panic, distress, he couldn't show that.
Cuando escuchó esto, Joseph, que lo estaba escondiendo, realmente se preocupó muchísimo. Ellos casi no iban vecinos a visitarlo a la casa, tratando de evitar que los descubrieran. Tenían 2 perros que cuidaban todos los alrededores de la casa.
Couldn't, of course, run quickly out. He had to wait till everybody's out and go slowly, and then picked up. He came home.
Tuvo que disimular su preocupación y lentamente, como todos los polacos que estaban en la iglesia, salir, ir a su casa.
He came home and quickly he told us whatever the words were, and we ran downstairs quickly.
Y les dijo que bajaran urgente del altillo y se escondieran todos en el búnker.
Okay. Opened the trap, went down. He covered it all up, and it was no light, total darkness, no air. Well, there was a little bit of air, cold and damp, like this unheated cellar, and we were there.
Bueno, estuvieron, una vez que bajaron, se escondieron en ese búnker que era frío, oscuro, con muy poco aire, y estuvieron en el... How long did you stay there?
We sat there about 2 hours.
Estuvieron ahí 2 horas.
And we heard the dogs barking very viciously.
Y escucharon durante ese momento a los perros ladrar fuerte.
And so we knew that they're coming.
Sabían que estaban viniendo a la
came to the door, and they knocked at the door. We could hear talking, and of course he was expecting them. And he was a type of person, very big, tall, you know, and loud voice, talking loud. And he purposely talked loud, so his voice will overpower in case we make a noise downstairs. So anyways, they came in, they opened the door. He says, good morning or good afternoon, gentlemen. He says, well, I guess you know what we're here for. He says, yes, I heard in the church, and I heard in church, and so they were asking, are you hiding any Jews? He says, no, but you're free to look. Okay.
Cuando estaban ladrando los perros es cuando se dieron cuenta que estaba viniendo la requisa. El hombre que los escondía, Joseph, era un hombre muy grande y hablaba con voz muy fuerte, un poco también a propósito para que ellos escucharan y para que se disimulara cualquier ruido que ellos hicieran. Él les abrió la puerta cuando golpearon a los polacos. Los polacos le dijeron, ¿usted sabe para qué estamos aquí? Sí, lo escuché en la iglesia. Yo no escondo ningún judío, pero si ustedes quieren, están libres para observar y buscar.
Okay, they came in the house and looked. Of course, there was only 4 rooms, so it didn't take long. And I'm not sure if they went upstairs. I'm sure they did. And I think it was about 4 people. Now, whether it was police or people, I think it was the Poles alone. There was no Germans, you see.
Estuvieron poco tiempo en una casa chica. Cree que no había alemanes, eran solo polacos los que estaban buscando.
They opened, so they asked, can we look in the cellar? Because they knew it as a cellar, so he said, sure. So he opened the door first, and he went down first. Joseph went down first.
Le pidieron permiso también para mirar en el sótano, donde estaban ellos escondidos. Le dijo, por supuesto que pueden mirar. Él abrió, él bajó primero.
They said there's no lights, it was during the daytime. So all they could see is when you come down, you see the light. So he went down first purposely with their purpose. And they followed him. So they couldn't all go down because there wasn't enough room. But maybe 2 guys saw the cellar, what the potatoes and so on. But he drew the attraction to that shelf. Remember that shelf I was telling you?
Yes,
the whiskey and so on. They start talking real loud. They says, look here guys, I just finished making this new recipe of whiskey. Would you like to taste it? You know, and he told them the recipe of this whiskey. Really talking loud. And it took about a minute or 2, the longest, I would say. And then it went out.
Tuvieron estado 1 o 2 minutos y después se fueron.
You can well imagine any of my sisters or myself made a cough or a sneeze.
Sí, el peligro en ese momento, dice, te imaginas si alguno de nosotros tosía o estornudaba, nos encontraba.
That's why he was talking so loud. And they left, so that was one experience. Naturally, we all had to sit, gave a little fresh relief. We sat there for a little while, I don't know for how long, then he opened up and went back upstairs. The second incident was in the summer, I guess it must have been 43, and they went to the farm. You know, I don't know how far that farm was. Actually, they locked the doors. And we asked him if he could go downstairs to the living room, you know, to stretch out, you know, and to get some daylight, you see.
En el 43, ellos tuvieron que ir a una granja que está más lejos, cerraban la puerta con llave como si no quedara nadie en la casa, y ellos le pidieron permiso a ver si lo dejaban bajar como para estirarse un poco y ver un poco de luz del día. Siempre adentro de la casa.
So he told us yes, and he drew all the curtains, you know, and he says yes. So while we were sitting, you know, relaxing, we heard the dogs barking again.
Bueno, él le dijo que sí, que no había problema, cerró todas las cortinas y cuando ellos bajaron y se sentaron, estaban un poco más tranquilos, vuelven a escuchar a los perros ladrando.
So again, we knew there's danger, so what do? We didn't have enough time to run downstairs, and there was nobody to cover us up, you see. So we just didn't know what to do quickly, so I guess my father said, let's lie, you know, under the window, let's light each one down on the floor against the window sideways, so they couldn't see through anyway, but just in case, you know, see a shadow, so they won't see us. This is what we did. And then after the dogs got a little quiet, so my father got up and just opened the window, the curtain that much, and he saw about 4 guys with rifles, without a uniform.
Cuando un poquito se fue, dejaron de ladrar los perros, el papá se fijó por un poquitín, por la cortina, cortándolo un poco, y vio a 4 muchachos sin uniforme con rifles.
And after that, we went back upstairs, and we never even told the people what happened. That date was April 1st. Now, April 1st in North America is called April Fool's Day. You know what that is?
No.
It's not in Argentina. How would you explain it?
It's a holiday.
It's not a holiday. It's a
silly little joke.
It's a little joke. April Fool, you're allowed to fool someone. That's a
Día Inocente. For us, it's the 28th of December.
So you have similar to that.
Yeah.
So you can phone up your wife and say, well, I'll take you to a tour.
To the Antarctica.
Yeah, nonsense, you know. That was a day. So we remember this every year. We sort of
Every year we say today.
together. We sort of celebrate or make it a high or something like that. I can never forget that date.
April the 1st.
April the 1st.
Cuenta de
I guess it was getting close to 1944, and we could hear, or he reported to Joseph, the underground army, that the Germans are getting a real shellacking from the Russians, and they're backing up, they're returning, retreating. So it gave us a little bit more hope for everybody.
ya para el 44, Joseph, que estaba en la resistencia polaca y recibía el diario de la resistencia, les avisó de que ya los alemanes se estaban retirando de Polonia y el ejército rojo avanzaba sobre Polonia, retirando de Rusia y avanzaba el ejército rojo sobre Polonia.
And, you know, as time, days and weeks go by, I could hear heavy cannons. The far distance.
Y a medida que pasaba el tiempo, se empezaron ya a escuchar la cercanía del frente con cañones pesados disparando.
And that gave us again, you know.
Eso le da más esperanza, más certeza de que se acercaba el fin.
And as going on and getting closer, you could, you know, hear the shooting and getting closer and closer and closer. I would say 1944. That would be in the summer. It had to be because the war was over May
45.
May 45, yes.
It must be in the summer of
summer 44. And the farmers, you know, the people went to the field, you know, as always. And all of a sudden, we could hear the shelling, you know, the lighter cannons, you know, lighter thick shelling over the roof. You could hear, you know.
Para el verano del 44 ya empezaron a escuchar cañones mucho más livianos y disparos por arriba del techo, digamos. Ya estaban en el frente.
And we were afraid because it was a straw roof in case the shell would catch fire. You know, we were on the roof and it's like this. So ran downstairs, opened the trap door and ran downstairs. Just be deep enough, you know. And poked, you know, that spot where the house was a little ravine. It was a little bush, you know, a little bush. And the Germans resisted. They sort of stood there and resisted overnight. And there was shelling going on at that particular time. So they stood there and all day, all was the shooting back and forth. After a while, I guess the Germans pulled out because we sat there all day and some night. Then all of a sudden you could hear quiet. But we didn't know. We were still afraid to come out of the basement because the people, and we were wondering why the people didn't come back from the field. So we figured that probably they got caught in the fire too. So they were afraid to come. So we sat
Aún
there all
así
night.
tenían miedo de salir porque tenían miedo de que todavía estuvieran por ahí o porque no habían vuelto los polacos del campo.
So they came back early in the morning and opened the door and they said, whatever he said, with that big smile, you're free.
Y en la mañana del día siguiente vino Joseph a abrirles y decirles con una gran sonrisa que eran libres.
And we hugged and kissed and cried, you can imagine.
Now you can go back to your home.
And now he said you can go back to your home.
Se abrazaron, se besaron, lloraron y les dijo él, bueno, ahora pueden volver a vuestra casa.
Okay, now pause. I'm going to go to the washroom because I get a little tense. Thank you.
You were free.
Thank you. I was free, and so we walked out, and the distance, maybe 2 kilometers. I couldn't walk because my knees swell up just like that. And the only one I think I remembered, not everybody else, but myself. So I had to sort of lean on my parents and sort of drag me slowly. And then it got better till
Tenían que caminar y casi no podía caminar de tan entumecidas las rodillas. Tuvo que apoyarse sobre sus padres para caminar.
So we walked through, field bushes to make a shortcut, shorter.
To your house.
To my house. And we came to our home. We knocked at the door because we knew somebody's living there. And people opened up, and we introduced ourselves. Our name is so-and-so, and this is our home. We survived the war, so please be free to stay with us. The house is big enough for all of us.
Fueron para la casa de ellos, pero cuando llegaron sabían que había gente que lo había ocupado, así que golpearon, se presentaron diciendo que eran los dueños de casa, que habían sobrevivido a la guerra, pero de todas maneras que no se preocuparan, que la casa era grande y había lugar para todos. How did they react?
No reaction, no response. All I remember, they left very short time, whether it was the same day or I think it was even the same
They
day.
left the house.
They left the house.
No hubo ninguna reacción, lo único que recuerda es que rápidamente, en poco tiempo, los que estaban ocupando la casa se fueron. And you were alone again in your
We were
own
alone
house.
on the house, and there again, I don't know the extent of the time. And we're going on, you know. Oh yes. Sorry, I gotta go back. During the time we we stayed on.
She's your backup.
As I say, my knees were bothering me. I couldn't walk too much. They were still swollen, and also we had goiters. You know, the swell from not having proper food.
No iodine.
Ah,
No iodine.
How you say?
No iodine.
No
and you
iodine.
get goiters.
Ah,
How do you know what
es
you
el
say?
bocio.
Bocio.
Yeah, you know, you have
Problem of
usually in
feeding.
Poland, you see a lot of farm women have this. They still have it now. Yeah,
Yeah.
Por el agua.
that's a lacking of iodine.
Minerals.
Minerals.
Yodo.
Yodo.
Lacking of iodine.
Okay. So the Russians were actually in our village as they were going forward, you see, as the Germans were retreating. So again, 2 Russian officers came into our home. And they happened to be doctors. Whether they were Jewish or not, I don't remember. And they saw our situation, you know. I guess my father, you know, told them us for help.
So what about your sisters?
Yeah, they were fine. I think my sisters, we all had goiters. I think we all had, but the feet were okay. Yeah.
Only yours were.
Yes. And so he told us to drink milk and put in 2 drops of iodine in the milk. I don't know for how long. And that's exactly what you say. Like we mixed it up and we drank that. After a short period, we cleared out. All cleared out.
Y así cuando los rusos estaban estacionados en la villa, 2 oficiales rusos se fueron a casa. The 2 Russian officials stayed in your house.
Yes. Well, very short.
Se quedaron muy
2
pocos,
days or so, just
2
for
o
a
3
rest.
días,
Yeah,
pero
doctors.
tuvieron la suerte de que eran doctores esos 2 soldados rusos y ellos les explicaron los problemas que tenían, especialmente el bocio, que es por la falta de yodo, y ellos les indicaron cómo resolverlo con leche y 2 gotitas de yodo, y en poco tiempo estaban todos bien y curados.
And for my niece, all they could tell us is, says, if you get a hot day, go to where there is sand, and hot sand, and bury him in sand. Keep him covered with sand, hot sand.
Y para las rodillas les recomendaron que se cubriera con arena caliente.
And I can't remember, because where we were living, I don't remember it be sandy, but we must have gone somewhere, because that's what we did, and it cleared. So it all sounds like the timing. Here's the Russian doctor told us about this. Here it is. It's like Americans say the Mashiach, you know. Like that
La
little woman
sensación
said.
que tiene es que todas las cosas se dieron en el momento apropiado y justo, como si fuera un milagro para que ellos sobrevivieran bien.
Yeah, just like the little woman and Yanina said, God will be with
Dios
us.
estaba con
Yeah.
ellos.
Julia. So that's all fine.
I want to know something. When you were in the roof, 24 hours, everybody there sitting, what do you do? What did you do there? Talk, play?
You know, you're the only one who's questioning. Nobody, when I go to school to children, talk about it, nobody says, I'm waiting for that question. They're not asking, I don't want to tell them, you know. What? Nothing. Nothing to read, nothing to do. So you were sleeping most of the time, sitting, and grooming yourself, you know, for scratching and this, and that's it. And waiting for the food once a day to look forward to it, and that's it.
Translate your question and answer the answer.
Perdón. A veces el papá rezaba, porque sabía todas las peticiones en hebreo.
We hid it, you know.
La
Yeah.
escondieron.
Yeah. And that's it. So back to home. So
The home was empty?
No.
No, from things.
no.
And your belongings were
Well,
there?
I don't know. There was nothing.
Nothing.
No, there was nothing.
They took everything.
Everything was empty. And So the amount of time staying there, I don't remember. It must have been a month, 6 months maybe. And
Stay in your home.
in home. And there was 2 families, and another family survived. Okay?
They were
Markova.
hidden in Markova.
They were hidden also
It was
somewhere.
the second that the prior.
Yeah, the son did not, because I remember saying while they were closer to the police station on the other end of the city, and I guess the Germans were coming in, and he was about 18 years old, and he got frightened, so he jumped the window. He was running out, see, and the Germans saw him, so they shot him. Yeah. So they had one daughter, so they survived. So.
Do you know their names?
I don't remember. They were in Chicago somewhere, you know. Yeah. I think my parents touched once or twice, and then we don't know what happened. So then we heard there was, you know, the Poles, the peasants. They get drunk, they get vulgar, they'll do damage, they'll knock at the door. All our windows were with these shutters, you know. You have to close every night these shutters.
Why?
For safety. They'll break the windows, yeah.
Is it not? You stay alone in the house.
Stay in the house all
Y
night.
ellos se quedaron en la
Yeah,
casa.
all night. We didn't sleep all night. Worried for my father, what happened to him. So once he came back the following night,
El padre volvió a la noche siguiente.
and then we have no alternative but we had to leave. We went
But
safe.
who were in the door this time?
We don't know. 2 men at night, you know, you couldn't identify me.
Your father couldn't identify.
And we heard of different things doing to the Jewish who survived, whether they were killed or whether they were making trouble, you know. So we knew the situation that was happening. We had no information. So I guess my parents knew that Rzeszów had a center there, which all the Jews were staying to find places where to go through the different places, whether it's Argentina, America, or Canada, you know, different. So my parents decided we cannot stay because we're not safe, so we have to leave and go to Rzeszów. And Rzeszów is about 17, 18 kilometers, I think, maybe more. So I don't know if we went on a horse and wagon, you know, the neighbors took us, I don't remember. And we just took whatever we had and we went to Rzeszów.
Y
We left
entonces
everything.
decidieron directamente.
So we arrived to that place, Rzeszów, and there was a 4 or 5 story building high. There was a lot of survivors, a lot of Jews there, and looking for families where to go. They seemed to help out. So within 2 or 3 days, that was before Passover, so it had to be somewhere around March. And the Poles, I guess, wanted to scare us, wanted to get us out.
Y bueno, había
Or law and order, you know, and the Polish police couldn't care less.
no había
They
ley,
couldn't care
no había
less.
orden, no había nada.
Yeah. And so what they've done is organized a big group of Poles with the police, Polish police, and they surrounded the building and they dug out a fresh grave. The child was killed by an accident in a car, maybe 2-3 days, you know, and they threw it on the steps, on the entrance, the steps of the building. And they said that the Jewish people cut the throat and used the blood Passover to make matzahs. That's a myth, many years going back.
The Polish, there was the
Spanish.
sorry.
It's translating from English to English.
I feel that I didn't say it well. So it became a panic, you know, must have been hundreds of people in that building.
Hubo pánico, había más de 100 personas.
And that lasted most of the day. until the Russians found out what was happening, the Russian army, and they came in with a big truck of their military, and they dispersed all the Poles. And then there must have been some people from an organization, I don't know which organization, from Israel, which they Shalir, and been there, and they found out, so they came to that building again and said they're going to get us out of this building to go to Krakow, to these cities, to transfer people who were smuggled through the borders. We had to go through Czechoslovakia, Hungary, Romania, and Austria. Some of them stayed in Austria, some stayed in Germany. And Austria and Germany were the center of dispersing the people wherever they wanted to find displaced persons to stay. On the train and going to Krakow.
Like now.
Like now.
Yeah, it's a little different train though. It's coming from the other way.
And while we left to Krakow, I guess the Polish police must have informed the city is called Tarnów. Anyways, we come to Tarnów and the train slows down and it stops just out of like away from the city. And these two police officers come up, and these Polish officers come up and they say, out. So we came out, and I don't know if we had a leader or I can't remember. And they took us out to a compound, like a big yard, place. It was fenced in, and we sitting there. And we sitting there until such time one of these soldiers with the rifle. There was a pretty young woman sitting there, and just come. We took her into a little shed, and after a little while, you could hear screaming and yelling and so on. So you can imagine what it was doing to her.
Uno de los soldados polacos, había una chica muy linda que viajaba también con ellos, en el mismo grupo, y la llama, y por lo que ellos escuchan, la viola.
And she came out all disoriented, crying, very, very frightened. And everybody started screaming with her. And they lost control. The two police lost control, and he shot the girl.
Y toda la gente se indigna y empieza a gritar frente a esto. El policía pierde el control. La chica lloraba y gritaba también, la que había sido violada. El policía pierde el control y la mata a la piba.
And right after this, they said, back on the train.
Después de esto, todos de nuevo arriba del tren.
And the reason, we don't know. I guess to make problems. That's what they were known for the police, the Polish people and the police.
Lo único que querían era molestar y generar problemas, los policías polacos.
Yeah. So we went to Krakow. And in Krakow, they put us again in that building. I remember that building, I can see it right now. It's like a center. We saw in Amsterdam here too, like two streets, and it was center in the building, and it was on the right. Whether that building, it's probably still there, modified. And they put us up there. It was empty building, no furniture, no nothing. We slept there on the floor. How long? A few days.
Por unos días se quedan en Cracovia en un edificio vacío donde los ponen.
Till the
suelo.
Till the Shalir found space on a train to take us on the train and smuggle through the borders.
Hasta que el Chelías, que se encargaba de llevar.
So we opened trains, which they were carrying coal.
Eran trenes abiertos los que se usan para transporte de carbón.
It was about this time of the year, maybe a bit later, misty, cold, raining, we were sitting, a train goes, you open, that wind, no proper clothes, but trying to survive. So we come to the Czechoslovakian border, they took us off, and where are we going? So I don't know what they said, so we had to go in a big room, and they were spraying a white spray to disinfect, for diseases or lice and fleas.
Llegaron a la frontera checa, la cruzaron los
the train, and we go through Hungary to Budapest, and we stayed there 1 or 2 days.
Pasaron por Budapest, se quedaron 1 o 2 días en Budapest.
After Budapest, we come to Romania.
Después Rumania.
In Romania, they found little houses, empty houses, like little bungalows, and no furniture, nothing. And we stayed there for 6 weeks. And we waited for the shliach to come, what to do. So this was the time when we were staying there. So he came along and said, well, we're having problems with the Austrian border. They won't let us through. We have to bribe them. So he collected whoever had a nice watch or jewelry or a ring or anything, or money.
Shoes.
We had, who knows how good they were, we don't know. We had nothing, just one pair of pants and one pair of shoes, and that's it. But we don't know, we didn't think about it. We tried to think to reach a destination,
Which was the destination?
Austria, yes, was the destination.
You were in Leipzig in this place?
No. Well, I remember a few places. I'll come to that. So whoever had, not too many, gave it to him. And he said, well, it might take a day or two till I reach the patrol, the border patrol, and see what I can do. We haven't heard of him for a week. So we figured, So there was about 2 or 3 families in that little house. So each one went on his own. So we have to leave. And we knew the place where to go, you see, more or less. So we had to go to a forest, bypass the traffic, so on. So it took us about 3 days and 3 nights to reach the border. But it was very hilly.
¿Sabían dónde era dónde?
And all we had, as I remember, is the Sacred Torah with us. We carried it all the way. And whatever we had with us was nothing. And the hills were quite severe. And I remember my mother
Era
used
un camino muy de montaña y lo único que ellos llevaban era el Sefer Torah que tenían en la casa y casi muy pocas personas.
I remember, like now, seeing it. My mother slid down the hill because she couldn't, get the balance, And
recuerda cómo la mamá se patinó en una de las laderas.
At night we had to sleep. So we slept under a tree or something at night. And we got closer to the border, which was in a foresty area, and we could hear the patrol speaking German. And we saw the patrol tower, through the
Cuando
bush.
se acercaron a la frontera ya
Find another way to bypass that, and we did. And then we tried to get a train to hit Koblenz. That was in Germany. No, that was that time that was Germany, I think. Border, yeah, Germany. That was the German border. And by mistake, we hit the German border. So they took us the train to Koblenz, because there was a camp over there. Displaced person camp. That camp was in the forest.
el campo estaba en un bosque.
It was, the trees reminded of the cemetery in Amsterdam, Warsaw. High, tall, quiet, dreary, and obviously the rows of camps empty, The air was kind of funny smelling too. We used to figure maybe there was some kind of a concentration. People were there, that's what we were thinking of. And they fed us there. There was a kitchen there, and guys were cooking, and we stayed there, I don't know, for a week or so.
Running out of batteries.
Okay, we were going from Koblenz. We went to another camp. There was the English side, and then we went to the American side,
Estaban del lado inglés, fueron al lado americano de Alemania.
which was Austria, and there was the big city was Linz. And outside the camp was called Bindeman. It was a huge camp, about 2-3 stories high, nicer buildings. It was occupied by the military, and the American military. And we stayed there until we found connections to Canada. Some relatives made papers, and from there we left Canada.
Estuvieron en el campo de Linz, que era un campo con mejores, there are good conditions.
Oh, it was good. I worked there. There was food.
Muy buenas condiciones.
It was already run by UNRWA organization.
UN.
So UN, yes. So it was like living.
Eso ya estaba manejado por las Naciones
It
Unidas.
was like
Estaban
real
bien,
living, yeah.
comían, no pasaban hambre y de ahí consiguieron hacer los papeles con unas familiares que tenían en Canadá para emigrar acá.
Anyways, as you say, your film is short, so I'm going to leave it at that. there's more to tell, but we'll leave for another time. I want to take this opportunity to put him on a film. I'm very, we are, me and my wife, very pleased to meet a family like this. Beautiful family, beautiful faces, good hearts, and to tell this story. And can I say thank you for you, Gabe, and your wife for starting this. Because I had no intention to come to Poland, you know, and for this reason, and the reason for the Janina, you know, still go on. So I think I'll make this trip. And as I said, I'll drive by my house. I will not make no effort to attempt to go there or look. And because I'm still afraid, and the people are afraid where we're going to. We have to tell them that we're coming from Germany or England because to lie, you know, in case the neighbors will see what's going on. So many people coming, you know. So this is what he'll have to say, that the people he knew, he worked in England and Germany, they came to the touring, so they came to visit him. So this is, I told them already, you know, what to prepare. But they're still scared today.
We have to lie now.
Yes, more than ever. And quickly, 4 years ago in Toronto, there was two brothers went back to Poland. I don't know which cities. They had properties. And they went to sell it, to get rid of it. So they made all the pre-arranged everything, you know, from Canada, then they made the arrangements there. They sold it, signed the papers, and a day before leaving back to Toronto, he was shot. One was shot. 4 years ago.
They didn't tell in the village that they hide you.
No, nobody knows. Nobody knows.
Nadie sabe eso. Y por otro lado cuenta el caso de que acá hay como un miedo. They are scared that we are coming back to take our property.
Something away.
That's right.
Tienen miedo como que nosotros vamos a venir a reclamar las propiedades que eran de
But as a tourist, there's no problem. You know,
no con turistas.
no problem.
So
But once they know that you're claiming, and this is why I wasn't going to claim the because I didn't want to start up. I don't know the value, what's worth, and I didn't want to create problems for these people, you know. So I figured the heck with it. Before my father passed away, which is what, 5 years? 5 years. So we decided to make out legal papers to assign the house and the piece of land there to these people. I mean, do what you want. We don't want it anything. So it was legally all done, and we sent it away. 2 weeks later, we get it all back with a letter written. They appreciate what we're doing, that, you know, that we're giving them this, the land and the house free, but they cannot accept it. They're afraid because the neighbors will find out who stoned them to death.
They stoned to death, no, that's crucified.
They crucified.
That was the translation of the word.
They stoned to death.
They will crucify them for what?
Because they saved our lives.
Because they'll find out.
Hace 5 años antes que fallezca el papá de él,
Thank my son, our son, for encouraging us to and being involved with you people, through computer and so on, because we know nothing. And thank you very much, son.
And I just want to say that Joe's father, keiner ist nicht geblieben von seinen Schwestern. Meine Mama geblieben 2 Plemenics. Eins von einer Schwester, eins von einer anderen Schwester. Das ist alles, was geblieben von der ganzen Schwabe. So jetzt gewinnen eigentlich alle. Das ist die Zukunft, die zugekommene Schwabe, was sie hat nicht erlebt, zu wissen, dass es
La hermana quedaron 2 primos, que lo único que salvaron. Y ahora encuentra a estas parientes, los cuales la hermana no los pudo alcanzar a ver. Por eso está muy contenta de habernos visto a nosotros.
Eine Schwester hat 6 Siegen, mit einem Siegen. Und der andere weiß nicht genau, 4 Kinder, like für Moishes Family. Ja, das ist dort 2. Eine in New York, eine in Chicago.
Say hello to Perla.